Hello and welcome. You're watching News Connect, a show in which we take you through all the major global as well as national developments of the day. I'm Munmun Bhattacharya. Let's get started with the top stories. New Year gift for farmers. Prime Minister Narendra Modi releases 10th installment of financial benefit under Pradhan Mantri Kisan Samman Nidhi. Says collective efforts of every Indian is giving new momentum and new energy to the development of the country. PM Modi transfers over 20,000 crore rupees to more than 10 crore beneficiary farmer families under Pradhan Mantri Kisan Samman Nidhi. Equity grant of more than 14 crore rupees also released to about 351 farmer producer organizations. PM interacts with the FPOs. Ten ministers and at least 20 MLAs test positive for coronavirus in Maharashtra. State continues to see a sharp rise in the virus cases since 27th December. Deputy Chief Minister says strict restrictions would be enforced if COVID-19 cases continue to rise in the state. Registration on CoWIN platform for vaccination of 15 to 18-year-old children begins. Vaccination of children with Covaxin to start from the 3rd of January. Nationwide 100 days reading campaign Padhe Bharat begins. The Union Education Minister Dharmendra Pradhan says reading books is a healthy habit and a wonderful way to develop cognitive, language and social skills. Stampede breaks out at Mata Vaishno Devi Shrine. At least 12 killed and 13 injured. Prime Minister Narendra Modi expresses grief over the incident, speaks to the JNK LG, announces ex gratia. Union Minister Jitendra Singh rushes to Katra. Yatra resumes following a brief suspension. India and Pakistan exchange information on nuclear installations and prisoners through diplomatic channels simultaneously in New Delhi and Islamabad. Both countries inform each other of nuclear installations and facilities to be covered under agreement on 1st of January of every calendar year. New Year 2022 being celebrated all over the world with gusto. President, Vice President and Prime Minister greet fellow citizens on the New Year. In a new year, a gift to farmers, Prime Minister Narendra Modi transferred the 10th installment of Pradhan Mantri Kisan Samman Nidhi scheme today via video conferencing. More than 20,000 crore rupees have been transferred to over 10 crore beneficiary farmer families. Under the PM Kisan scheme, financial benefit of 6,000 rupees per year is provided to the eligible family of farmer in 3 installments. So far, over 1,60,000 crore rupees have been transferred to farmers' families. The initiative further fulfills the government's commitment and resolve to empower grassroots level farmers.
पीएम किसान सम्मान निधि भारत के किसानों का बहुत बड़ा संबल बनी है। हर बार हर किस्त समय से हर साल हजारों करोड़ रुपए का ट्रांसफर बिना किसी बिचौलिए के, बिना किसी कमीशन के। पहले कोई कल्पना भी नहीं कर सकता था कि भारत में ऐसा भी हो सकता है। आज की राशि को मिला दें तो किसान सम्मान निधि के तहत किसानों के खाते में 1,80,000 करोड़ रुपए से ज्यादा ट्रांसफर हो चुके हैं। आज उनके छोटे छोटे खर्चों के लिए ये किसान सम्मान निधि बहुत काम आ रही है।
Prime Minister also released equity grant of more than 14 crore rupees to about 351 farmer producer organizations benefiting more than 1.24 lakh farmers. He spelled out 5 major benefits of FPOs.
जो छोटा किसान पहले अलग थलग रहता था, उसके पास अब एफपीओ के रूप में 5 बड़ी शक्तियां हैं। पहली शक्ति है बेहतर बार्गेनिंग, यानी कि मोलभाव की शक्ति। एफपीओ के माध्यम से अब खेती के लिए जरूरी चीजें किसान थोक में खरीदते हैं और रिटेल में बेचते हैं। एफपीओ से जो दूसरी शक्ति किसानों को मिली है वो है बड़े स्तर पर व्यापार की। तीसरी ताकत है इनोवेशन की। एक साथ कई किसान मिलते हैं तो उनके अनुभव भी साथ में जुड़ते हैं, जानकारी बढ़ती है। चौथी शक्ति है रिस्क मैनेजमेंट की। एक साथ मिलकर आप चुनौतियों का बेहतर आकलन भी कर सकते हैं, उससे निपटने के रास्ते भी बना सकते हैं। और 5वीं शक्ति है बाजार के हिसाब से बदलने की क्षमता।
PM Modi also said that India has proven that it can overcome most difficult of times with a collective show of the nation's willpower.
आज जब हम नव वर्ष में प्रवेश कर रहे हैं, तब बीते साल के अपने प्रयासों से प्रेरणा लेकर हम नए संकल्पों की तरफ बढ़ना है। 2021 में हम भारतीयों ने पूरी दुनिया को दिखा दिया है कि जब हम ठान लेते हैं तो बड़ा सा बड़ा लक्ष्य छोटा हो जाता है। कौन सोच सकता था कि इतने कम समय में भारत जैसा इतना बड़ा विशाल देश 145 करोड़ से अधिक वैक्सीन डोज दे पाएगा। भारत एक दिन में 2.5 करोड़ वैक्सीन डोज का रिकॉर्ड बना सकता है। भारत इस कोरोना काल में अनेकों महीनों से अपने 80 करोड़ नागरिकों को मुफ्त राशन सुनिश्चित कर रहा है।
The Prime Minister also said that nation first is fast becoming the sentiment of every Indian today, and that is why there is unity in our efforts and almost an impatience for accomplishments.
डर, भय, आशंकाओं को छोड़कर हमें शक्ति और सामर्थ्य को याद करना है। देश प्रेम की भावना सर्वोपरि रखनी है। हमें अपने लक्ष्यों को याद रखते हुए लगातार लक्ष्य की ओर कदम बढ़ाना है। राष्ट्र प्रथम की भावना के साथ राष्ट्र के लिए निरंतर प्रयास आज हर भारतीय का मनोभाव बना रहा है। और इसलिए ही आज हमारे प्रयासों में एकजुटता है, हमारे संकल्पों में सिद्धि की अधीरता है। आज हमारी नीतियों में निरंतरता है और निर्णयों में दूरदर्शिता है।
Prime Minister Narendra Modi shared some resolutions for the nation to take on this New Year's Day. He urged farmers to adopt new and innovative methods. Prime Minister also made a call for the Swachhata mission to be taken forward. He said this is the year to focus on building the Atmanirbhar Bharat of our dreams. This is the year to be vocal for local.
नए साल का ये पहला दिन नए संकल्पों का दिन है। ये संकल्प आजादी के अमृत काल में देश को और समर्थ और सक्षम बनाने वाले हैं। यहां से हमें इनोवेशन का कुछ नया करने का संकल्प लेना है। साफ सफाई का जो संकल्प है उसे भी हमें भूलना नहीं है। सबसे बड़ा संकल्प है आत्मनिर्भरता का, लोकल के लिए वोकल होने का। हमें भारत में बनी चीजों को वैश्विक पहचान देनी है। इसके लिए जरूरी है कि भारत में पैदा होने वाले, भारत में बनने वाले हर सामान, हर सर्विस को हम प्राथमिकता दें। हमें याद रखना है कि हमारे आज के कार्य अगले 25 वर्षों की हमारी विकास यात्रा की दिशा तय करेंगे। इस यात्रा में हम सभी का पसीना होगा, प्रत्येक देशवासी की मेहनत होगी।
PM Modi also interacted with the FPOs during the event. FPOs from states like Uttar Pradesh, Tamil Nadu and Gujarat shared their experiences with the Prime Minister.
धर्मचंद्र जी नमस्कार, आप कैसे हैं? अपने काम के विषय में जरा बताइए।
हमारी कंपनी सब किसानों को समय समय पर उन्नतशील बीज अपने शेयर धारकों को नए नए किस्म के बीज उपलब्ध कराती है। हमारी जो कंपनी किसानों को जैविक खेती पर भी जो है करने के लिए प्रेरित करती है। फूल की खेती जैसे गुलाब है, गेंदा है, आदि की फूल की खेती भी करने पर जो है करती है।
धर्मचंद जी, ये गुलाब गेंदा उसका मार्केट नजदीक में मिल जाता है?
इन एम पर जो है सब्जियों का और केले का, आलू का इन एम पर करता हूँ, उसको भी जो है फूल मंडी में बेचता हूँ। सर,
आपने सारे इतने उत्पाद वहां ला करके रखे हैं, ये सब छोटे छोटे किसानों के उत्पाद की गई चीजें हैं?
जी 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 जी, छोटे, हमारे में सब लघु किसान है, बहुत छोटे छोटे किसान।
ये केले की साइज भी बहुत बड़ी दिख रही है।
अरे साहब, ये ब्रांडेड मेरा केला है, नवीन केला साहब।
शांति जी वणक्कम।
वणक्कम भैया, हैप्पी न्यू ईयर।
हैप्पी न्यू ईयर। कैन यू टेल मी व्हाई डिड यू फॉर्म दिस एफपीओ?
एफपीओ को इसलिए शुरुआत की, हमारे उपज को बिचौलियों का द्वारा बेचने पड़ते थे, इसके वजह से हमको कम दाम मिलते थे। इसलिए हमने 2016-17 में वीरपांडी का कलंजियम जीवित प्रोड्यूसर कंपनी को नाबार्ड का सपोर्ट से एफपीओ शुरू किया है।
व्हाट इज स्पेशल अबाउट योर एफपीओ?
ये एफपीओ संपूर्ण रूप से महिला से चला रहा है। इनका सीईओ भी महिला है, बोर्ड ऑफ डायरेक्टर भी महिला है, को मार्गदर्शन देने वाली नाबार्ड की अधिकारी भी महिला है।
इट इज वेरी गुड टू नो दैट योर एफपीओ इज ओन एंड ऑपरेटेड एंड कंप्लीटली बाय वुमेन। नमस्कार।
नमस्कार, કેમ છો સાહેબ?
આપણે એવા ને એવા, તમે મજામાં?
મજામાં સાહેબ, બધા મજા।
હા, વાહ, લો તો જરા હવે કહો શું કર્યું છે તમે? आपका एफपीओ नेचुरल फार्मिंग भी करता है, प्राकृतिक खेती भी करता है, और अक्सर लोग ऑर्गेनिक और नेचुरल फार्मिंग में फर्क नहीं कर पाते हैं। आप जरा सरल भाषा में समझा सकते हैं क्या?
सर, साधारण भाषा में कहें तो नेचुरल फार्मिंग का मतलब है प्रकृति के साथ में, नेचर के साथ मिलकर खेती करना। इस खेती में किसी भी प्रकार के कीटनाशक, खरपतवार नाशक, पेस्टिसाइड आदि किसी का भी प्रयोग नहीं किया जाता है।
आपके एफपीओ के जो प्रोडक्ट्स हैं का बिजनेस मॉडल क्या है, व्यापारिक गतिविधियां क्या है?
गुजरात एग्रो कॉरपोरेशन के अंतर्गत हमने जो प्राकृतिक कृषि का एफपीओ बनाया है, जो गुजरात में प्राकृतिक कृषि करते हैं उन्हीं का एफपीओ बनाया है। तो उसमें जो किसानों को जोड़ा है, तो उसमें हम जो भी हमारी प्रोसेस है उसका प्रोसेसिंग, ग्रेडिंग, प्रोसेसिंग करके सीधा उपभोक्ता तक पहुंचाने का एक डिजिटल प्लेटफॉर्म एक बना रहे हैं, जिसमें हम सरकार हमको बहुत मदद कर रही है।
निश्चित भाई, अच्छा लगा मुझे आपसे बात करने का मौका मिला, और आप लोगों ने जो अपनी पैदावार दिखाई है उसे लगता है कि काफी प्रगति की है। आपको मेरी तरफ से आपको बहुत बहुत शुभकामनाएं, और प्राकृतिक खेती को आप और ज्यादा प्रचारित कीजिए। और आपके यहाँ तो गवर्नर साहब खुद इसके लिए बड़ी मेहनत कर रहे हैं, और गुजरात के किसानों ने इसको स्वीकार भी किया है। मेरी तरफ से आपको बहुत बहुत बधाई।
And now correspondent Arun Sharma joins us with more. Arun, we saw that the Prime Minister released the 10th installment of PM Kisan benefiting more than 10 crore farmer families. And we are also seeing a growing trend of farmer producer organizations being formed in the country, and many of them are helping small and marginal farmers. Tell us about the transformative impact that PM Kisan and FPOs are having in the farmer community in the country.
Well, these initiatives have completely the lives of the farmers in our country. When we talk about the PM Kisan Samman Nidhi, the main motto of this initiative was to give a financial assistance to the farmers in our country. And so far, more than 1.6 lakh crore rupees, have been transferred directly in the bank account of the farmers. Now, this initiative ensures that the farmers in our country get 2,000 rupees, every 4 months, primarily 3 times in a year, so that they get a financial assistance as the agriculture sector is concerned. Second, when we talk about the FPOs, in 2020, Prime Minister Narendra Modi announced the fact that a 1 lakh crore of agriculture infrastructure fund that was announced, and this fund can be utilized by the farmers, the FPOs, these small communities, in villages or in far-flung areas, so that they can strengthen the agriculture infrastructure in our country. And now we are seeing this transformation that various FPOs have come forward. They are now making or developing various cold storages, warehouses, and various other infrastructure related to agriculture sector. So they are strengthening the agriculture infra in our country. And FPOs are also playing a significant role in in removing the middlemen primarily, and of course providing big market to the farmers, ensuring that the farmers get big market. Number 2, they get the better price in the market, and they are also innovating as of now. These FPOs are innovating and ensuring that how this innovation reaches to the small and marginalized farmers. Because as Prime Minister Narendra Modi has given the mantra of lab to land, that means whatever labs the researches are being conducted in lab, that should reach to the land where the farmers are farming. So these FPOs are a very significant link between lab and the land primarily. These FPOs ensure that the farmers do get the innovation, various innovative methods are being taught to the farmers, small farmers primarily, and in this manner farmers are being aware. They are in a position to get a better prices now, and they're also getting big market now. So in this way, primarily, we have seen how in last 6-7 years, the agriculture sector has been reformed via various, government initiatives as well.
Right. Arun, how defining was the year 2021 for the agriculture sector? And now that we are in 2022, the Prime Minister exhorted farmers to adopt innovation, and he said that natural farming or chemical-free farming has a huge market. The input cost is low, and exhorted farmers to adopt natural farming also to some extent. So do you see that appetite among farmers for greater innovation in 2022?
Absolutely, Munmun. In when Prime Minister Narendra Modi, when he was the Chief Minister of Gujarat, at that time only, he brought in this concept of natural farming. Now, he was, one of the pioneer top leaders to pitch in for the drip irrigation, for zero budget farming, for natural farming as well. And the result is that today in the Dang district of Gujarat is completely, it's 100%, a district where natural farming is being adopted. All the methods that are related to natural farming are being adopted as far as Dang district in Gujarat is concerned. And there are various districts in our country that are growing or innovating or upgrading themselves for the natural farming. The main benefit of natural farming is that your input cost, declines, sharply. If you buy a pesticide from the market, the artificial pesticide primarily, it costs you, for example, 5,000 rupees. The natural pesticides or the natural, the sprays primarily, that will cost you only 500 rupees to 600 rupees. So that's the kind of huge difference, that gets reduced as far as the input cost is concerned. So now, because of various initiatives, the farmers are upgrading themselves to the natural farming. Awareness is being created in last 6 to 7 years because Prime Minister Narendra Modi has focused upon the fact that how can this small and marginalized farmers in our country can be made aware about the fact, about the benefits of natural farming. Natural farming and organic farming are two separate things. Sikkim is a state which is completely organic state, you can say that, but natural farming, that means using various tools, using various methods, it reduces your input cost. That is completely in line with the ecology. That means it is environment friendly in nature. You reduce your dependence on the artificial methods or the pesticides that are available. Now, natural farming also boosts or give a major push to the productivity as well. So yes, it is because of the government's initiative, now farmers, are upgrading themselves for the natural farming. And in budget also, in 2020, it was announced that government will be giving special emphasis on zero budget farming. Even for that matter, last year, Prime Minister Narendra Modi clearly announced this fact that a committee will be constituted and how zero budget farming can be, made available to various farmers of our country, and how can various farmers upgrade themselves to zero budget farming. All these methods should be formed and chalked out. The strategy should be chalked out. So committee will be formed on those lines. So yes, because of these various initiatives, the farmers are upgrading themselves technologically via various methods or adopting various tools that reduces their input cost. Now farmers are getting bigger market because of initiatives like e-NAM. And yes, last but not least, it is because of the government initiative like the Agriculture Infrastructure Fund of 1 lakh crore rupees, where farmers can create their own logistical or agriculture infrastructure in tier 2, tier 3 towns. So this is also giving a major push to the agriculture sector. So in that context, these initiatives taken last 7 years are very much significant in boosting the farmers' income.
Right, Arun. Thank you for that. News coming in from Maharashtra now, where 10 ministers and at least 20 MLAs have tested positive for COVID-19 so far. Deputy Chief Minister Ajit Pawar said, adding that strict restrictions might be clamped if the new COVID-19 cases continue to rise in the state. The information came barely 2 days after at least 54 people, including 2 ministers, tested positive for the virus during the ongoing winter session of Maharashtra Assembly. On 29th December, Tribal Development Minister K.C. Padavi and School Education Minister Varsha Gaikwad had confirmed that they had tested positive for the virus and were entering isolation. Opposition BJP MLA from Nagpur, Sameer Meghe, also entered isolation after being infected. Others who were infected included journalists who were covering the House proceedings, several House employees and security personnel. Over 2,300 people who were attending or covering the session were tested for the virus at a camp over the weekend. Mumbai, meanwhile, continued to see a surge in the number of new infections. On Friday, the city reported over 5,000 cases, a tally last seen in the city in April 2021. Meanwhile, the total count of the highly transmissible coronavirus variant Omicron has reached 1,431 in the country. Maharashtra has the highest Omicron count with 454 cases, followed by Delhi with 351 cases. 118 cases of Omicron have been reported in Tamil Nadu, 115 in Gujarat, 109 in Kerala, 69 in Rajasthan and 62 in Telangana. Delhi reported 1,796 COVID-19 cases yesterday, with the positivity rate at 2.44%. While the number of cases are rapidly increasing, no COVID-19 deaths were reported yesterday. It is also a matter of relief that 488 Omicron patients have recovered, defeating the disease. Let's now take a look at the COVID-19 situation from across the country. The recovery of 8,949 patients in the last 24 hours has increased the cumulative tally of recovered patients to 3,42,75,312. Consequently, India's recovery rate stands at 98.32%. 22,775 new cases were reported in the last 24 hours. Active caseload currently stands at 1,04,781. Active cases account for less than 1% of the total cases. Active cases constitute 0.3% of the country's total positive cases. The testing capacity across the country continues to be expanded. The last 24 hours saw a total of 11,10,855 tests being conducted. India has so far conducted over 67.89 crore cumulative tests. While testing capacity has been enhanced across the country, weekly positivity rate in the country stands at 1.1% currently, and the daily positivity rate has been reported to be 2.05%. Ramping up the efforts towards vaccination in the wake of the Omicron surge, potential beneficiaries can register themselves on the CoWIN portal from today. This includes children in the 15 to 18 age group, healthcare and frontline workers, as well as citizens aged 60 and above with comorbidities. To register on the CoWIN site, children can use their school IDs or Aadhaar. 6 to 7 crore children in the 15 to 18 age bracket will be eligible to receive Covaxin. Healthcare and frontline workers and citizens aged 60 and above with comorbidities will be able to access vaccination for the precaution dose through their existing CoWIN account. The CoWIN system will send an SMS to eligible persons for availing the precaution dose when it becomes due. Beneficiaries can also avail a walk-in registration facility. Administration of these doses will begin from the 10th of this month. The first precautionary dose of the COVID vaccine will be given to those above 60 years of age who received their second dose of the vaccine 9 months before registering for the third dose. Health and Family Welfare Minister Dr. Mansukh Mandavia has urged the family members of children aged between 15 to 18 years to register for the vaccination of their children. The Health Minister in a tweet said, if the children are safe, then the future of the country is safe. He said on the occasion of the New Year, registration is being started on the CoWIN platform for COVID-19 vaccination of children from today. An update now on the nationwide COVID-19 vaccination drive. The COVID-19 vaccination coverage has crossed 145 crore landmark milestone. 145 crore 16 lakh 24,150 vaccine doses have been administered across the country so far. More than 58.11 lakh vaccine doses have been administered in the last 24 hours. Following the tragic incident wherein 12 devotees died and 13 others were injured in a stampede at Jammu Mata Vaishno Devi Shrine, Union Minister Dr. Jitendra Singh and JNK DGP Dalbagh Singh visited Shri Mata Vaishno Devi Narayan Super Speciality Hospital in Katra in JNK and reviewed the situation. Union Minister Jitendra Singh informed that the condition of the injured devotees who are being treated at the hospital is stable. He further said 4 injured will recover soon and will be discharged.
संतोषजनक बात है कि जो यहाँ पर दाखिल हुए हैं वो स्थिर है, स्टेबल है। आईसीयू में हमारे 6 लोग दाखिल हैं, जिनमें से 2 तो लगभग अब छुट्टी देने के काबिल हैं। उसके अतिरिक्त 4 व्यक्ति कॉमन वार्ड में है, जनरल वार्ड में, वो भी लगभग अब छुट्टी देने के काबिल हो जाएंगे। जांच तो एक केंद्र शासित प्रदेश की ओर से दी गई है, बाकी हम सारा देख करके एक बार बैठेंगे। मुझे लगता है कुछ और भी डीजी साहब ने भी काफी बंदोबस्त करके रखा था, उसके बावजूद भी यदि इस तरह की स्थिति पैदा हुई है तो क्या और विकल्प हो सकते हैं, क्या और प्रावधान हो सकते हैं जो इंट्रोड्यूस किए जाएं, क्योंकि कुछ एक वर्षों में देखने को मिला है कि न्यू ईयर ईव पर एक ट्रेंड आया है, बहुत बड़ी संख्या में युवा यात्रा करने आते हैं।
The Union Minister further said that Prime Minister Narendra Modi is continuously monitoring the situation. Meanwhile, Vaishno Devi Yatra resumed following a brief suspension. Prime Minister Narendra Modi expressed grief over the tragic stampede that happened at the holy shrine of Vaishno Devi this morning.
में हुए दुखद हादसे पर शोक व्यक्त करता हूं। जिन लोगों ने भगदड़ में अपनों को खोया है, जो लोग घायल हुए हैं, मेरी संवेदनाएं उनके साथ है। केंद्र सरकार, जम्मू कश्मीर प्रशासन उसके लगातार संपर्क में है। मेरी लेफ्टिनेंट गवर्नर मनोज सिन्हा जी से भी बात हुई है। राहत के काम का, घायल के उपचारों का पूरा ध्यान रखा जा रहा है।
Reacting on the Mata Vaishno Devi Bhavan stampede incident, Chief Secretary of JNK Arun Kumar Mehta said that all required help has been provided to all the affected people and all arrangements have been made. On being asked if the devotees were carrying the Yatra passes, JNK Chief Secretary said that a high-level probe is underway to go into this unfortunate incident.
जो भी मदद चाहिए था दे दी गई है, उनको जो भी बॉडी ले जाने का इंतजाम करना था वो कर दिया गया है, सारा कुछ इंतजामिया कर रहा है। इंक्वायरी हो रही है और इंक्वायरी में एक अनफॉर्चुनेट इंसिडेंट है, 86 के बाद से ऐसा कोई इंसिडेंट हुआ नहीं था। पीक यात्रा जो कभी हुई है 50,000 के आसपास भी हो सकती है पीक पे, अभी उससे आधी के आसपास।
In another tragic incident, 2 persons were killed and around 15 to 20 others were feared trapped after a landslide at the Dadam mining zone in Haryana's Bhiwani district today. About a dozen vehicles involved in mining work have been buried in the landslide. Rescue work is ongoing and police are at the spot. So far, 3 people have been rescued while 2 bodies were pulled out of the rubble. The wounded have been shifted to a hospital for treatment. Agriculture Minister JP Dalal and SP Ajit Singh Shekhawat are also at the scene to oversee relief work. The cause of the landslide is not yet known. Investigation is underway to find out the exact cause. Meanwhile, Haryana Chief Minister Manohar Lal Khattar expressed his sorrow at the mishap and said he is monitoring the situation. Union Education and Skill Development Minister Dharmendra Pradhan today launched a 100 days reading campaign, Padhe Bharat. The launch of 100 days reading campaign is in alignment with the National Education Policy 2020, which emphasizes on promotion of joyful reading culture for children by ensuring availability of age-appropriate reading books in their mother tongue, regional and tribal languages. The campaign involves a host of activities to be undertaken over a period of 14 weeks for students from Bal Vatika to grade 8. The Education Minister in a tweet shared names of 5 books that he picked for children to begin reading. He also encouraged everyone, especially the youth, to adopt the habit of reading books. He also asked children to share with him the books they had been reading and suggestions for what he should read next. India and Pakistan today exchanged through diplomatic channels simultaneously at New Delhi and Islamabad the list of nuclear installations and facilities covered under the agreement on the prohibition of attack against nuclear installations and facilities between India and Pakistan. The agreement was signed on 31st December 1988 and entered into force on 27 January 1991. This is the 31st consecutive exchange of such lists between the two countries, the first one having taken place on the 1st of January 1992. India and Pakistan also exchanged lists of civilian prisoners and fishermen in their custody in keeping with provisions of 2008 agreement under which such lists are exchanged every year on the 1st of January and 1st of July. The government has called for early release and repatriation of civilian prisoners and missing Indian defence personnel and fishermen from Pakistan's custody. In addition, Pakistan has been asked to provide immediate consular access to 182 Indian fishermen and 17 civilian prisoners in their custody and are believed to be Indian. Further, army personnel from India and Pakistan exchanged sweets and New Year greetings at 4 locations along the line of control today. Under PM Gati Shakti National Master Plan, the government has set ambitious targets for achieving renewable energy capacity of 225 gigawatts by 2025 from 87.7 gigawatts at present. In this context, Power Major NTPC is all set to double its solar energy generation capacity in the near future. Our senior correspondent Ajay Mishra caught up with the chairman and MD of NTPC, Gurdeep Singh, on NTPC's focus for 2022.
The Prime Minister Narendra Modi had a great focus on the infrastructure development, and power for all is one of the most important factor when it comes to infrastructure development. We have with us the power veteran and chairman and managing director of NTPC, Mr. Gurdeep Singh, to talk exclusively to DD News. Sir, thanks very much. What will be the core focus of the NTPC when it comes to power sector in the new year? What are your plans for the new year, sir?
Thank you, Ajay ji. As far as NTPC is concerned, you will be aware that we are supplying 1/4 of the total power to the entire country. And as of today, we have 68 gigawatt capacity. And we aim to take it to 130 gigawatt by 2030. And in this, I'm happy to share that as the world is moving towards cleaner and greener sources of energy, our emphasis is also towards that. So in addition to making the power available and making it cleaner and affordable, our aim is how we can accelerate the renewable energy. And you will be glad to know that we as NTPC, we have started work on almost 4.5 gigawatt of solar energy. Another 4.5 gigawatt is under tendering and other developmental stage. In addition, very soon we will be working on 10 gigawatt on UMREPP, which is Ultra Mega Renewable Energy Park, like what we had done some decades back on the thermal side. So this will be a big push, and as you know, Honorable Prime Minister has already declared that by 2030 we will be having 500 gigawatt of non-fossil energy. So in that, like what we have done in case of thermal, we will be playing a very important role. And we have our aim, what we have set, rather revised from 30 gigawatt to 60 gigawatt by 2030. And the team is working on that, and I'm sure that not only 60 gigawatt, but we will be crossing the more than this figure of 60 gigawatt, and we will be able to achieve much more than that. We have started a new initiative of floating solar, and in that the floaters, what we have developed is a good example of Make in India for the new technology, new initiatives, new areas. And in that we have worked with CPET, which is in Madras, Guindy, which is the Plastic Technology Institute. And I'm happy to share with you that the cost of that floater in the beginning was almost 4 crore per megawatt, and which has now come down below 1 crore per megawatt. And very soon we will be able to bring down this cost, and this will start competing with the ground mounted, and that will be helping to serve many purposes. It will save the land, and also when we are able to harness the solar energy through this floating solar, that efficiency is also higher because the temperature is controlled. So you will be able to take more energy from these same sources. And our emphasis is that we should be purchasing and using most of the items which are manufactured in India, Make in India.
Sir, we have seen that NTPC have now grown into a complete integrated power company. So what will be the strategy going forward from here onwards when you are going to be present in almost all segment of power sector?
Yeah, I think most of the people still call us National Thermal Power Corporation. We have, way back, we have changed ourselves to NTPC Limited when we started our hydro project. And from that time onwards, we are only NTPC Limited. But in the last few years, it's not only the hydro, but we have started work massively in case of solar, wind, and now we are going towards the green hydrogen and mobility. So this is going to change the total paradigm, and we would be integrated energy company, not only power generation, and that too also thermal power generation. So this is our aim, to become integrated energy company, not the power only. And by 2030, our aim is that 50% of our power generation should be from the non-fossil. And in that direction, there is a concerted efforts which are going on, and the solid work which is on this ground, as well as in the planning for the new capacity is continuing.
Thank you very much, sir. So that's where the company is changing. That's where the India is changing, where the focus is clearly on the green energy and clean energy. With camera person Smriti Ranjan Mahapatra, Ajay Mishra, DD News, New Delhi.
Defence Research and Development Organisation, or DRDO, is celebrating its 64th Foundation Day today. It was on this day in 1958 when DRDO was formed to make India strong and self-reliant in terms of science and technology, and especially in military technologies. In a span of 63 years, the organisation has transformed the landscape of defence research and development in the country. Chairman of DRDO, Dr. G. Satish Reddy, said that the last year was the year of major breakthroughs and accomplishments, even under the difficult situation posed due to COVID-19. Nearly 5.89 crore income tax returns have been filed on the new e-filing portal of the Income Tax Department as on 31st December 2021. The extended due date with almost 50 lakh ITRs being filed yesterday. A help desk was facilitated in order to assist taxpayers with a smooth experience on the portal through chat and phone calls, while some took to the official Twitter handle to get their queries clarified. New Year's Day is being celebrated today in India with much fanfare and plenty of hope. President Ramnath Kovind, Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu and Prime Minister Narendra Modi extended greetings to fellow citizens on the New Year. After 2 years of strict restrictions, people celebrated New Year following COVID protocols. In most states such as Delhi, Maharashtra, Karnataka and Kerala, governments have already reinforced COVID-19 restrictions to stem the Omicron spread in the country. In Amritsar, devotees paid obeisance at the Golden Temple. In Kolkata, New Year celebrations took place in the Park Street area. People thronged in large numbers to greet the year 2022. Muted New Year celebrations were seen across the globe. Spain's Madrid celebrated New Year in the traditional way on Friday, with 7,000 people gathered on the central Puerta del Sol square, despite a surge of coronavirus cases across the country. Revelers saw in the New Year 2022 by eating 12 grapes in time with the midnight bell chimes atop the old post office building, which now serves as the offices of Madrid's regional president, Isabel Diaz Ayuso. A mix of tourists and locals donned colorful clothing and did their best to start the party despite the presence of thick facial masks and a slightly downbeat atmosphere. Meanwhile, in Dubai, visitors and residents gathered on Friday night at Expo 2020 as the ball dropped officially, bringing in the new year 2022. The region's tourism hub celebrated the new year with the usual fireworks and laser show at the world's tallest building in the heart of Dubai, while thousands gathered at Expo 2020 for the longest New Year's Eve celebration in the world, according to a media statement. Crowds of people gathered to watch the spectacle and filmed it on their phones. Dubai is open to tourists, though it requires visitors from the majority of countries to show a negative PCR test upon arrival and undertake another one at the airport. Many countries and companies are also looking forward to the Expo, the first major global event open to visitors since the coronavirus pandemic, to boost trade and investment. Ringing in the new year, fireworks lit up the sky in the backdrop of Greek capital's ancient landmarks to quietly usher in the new year. even as the country grappled with record-breaking coronavirus infections and cancelled holiday festivities. Greece reported 40,560 COVID-19 cases on Friday, setting a new record high for the fourth successive day following a surge of cases of the Omicron coronavirus variant. Greece banned public Christmas and New Year's Eve festivities and mandated mask wearing in open spaces to help to curb the spread of Omicron, but the recent surge forced the government on Wednesday to implement new restrictions on the hospitality sector. Bars, restaurants and nightclubs were ordered to close at midnight with no standing customers and no music. An exception was New Year's Eve, when establishments could close at 2 a.m. Russia celebrated the start of 2022 with a fireworks display over a snow-covered Red Square on Friday. The famed Red Square was closed to the public to prevent the spread of coronavirus, while journalists were permitted to film shots of fireworks over the Kremlin. However, many people were undeterred and huge crowds of people were seen gathering in the city center to celebrate. In his traditional New Year's address, televised a few minutes before midnight, Russian President Vladimir Putin offered seasonal good wishes to the nation and thanked people for keeping strong during the ongoing pandemic. Australia started 2022 with a record number of new COVID-19 cases as an outbreak centred in the eastern states grew. The New South Wales eased its isolation rules for healthcare workers as the number of people hospitalised with the virus rose. New South Wales reported daily record case of 22,577 and Victoria reports 7,442. Queensland State introduced a new mask mandate with Queenslanders required to wear masks indoors across a variety of venues from Sunday. Including cases in Queensland, Tasmania and the Australian Capital Territory, Saturday had already set a national record of 33,161 cases, topping Friday's 32,946, even before numbers from South Australia, Western Australia and the Northern Territory were released. Meanwhile, French President Emmanuel Macron on Friday said that the next few weeks would be difficult as the country headed into subdued New Year celebrations after registering 232,200 new COVID-19 cases over the last 24 hours, its highest ever recorded total. New infections over the last 24 hours were above 2 lakh for the third day running, making France one of the epicenters as a wave of infections linked to the Omicron variant sweeps across Europe. He also said France was in a better place to face the coronavirus pandemic than a year ago thanks to those who got vaccinated and urged the others to get their COVID-19 shots. He also said he would continue to serve France, whatever my role, after a presidential election that takes place in April 2022. The president gave no clear hint on whether he would run for a second term. Macron's lieutenants have already unofficially launched preparations for his campaign. People in Paris were once again required to wear face masks outdoors from Friday ahead of New Year's Eve festivities yesterday as France struggles with soaring COVID-19 cases. Some cities in France, including Paris and Lyon, brought back the mask-wearing mandate, which had gone out of effect in June as the country tightens measures amid a worsening health situation due to the Omicron variant. The government announced new restrictions such as curbs on gatherings and recommendations on remote working earlier this week. On Paris streets on Friday, most people donned face coverings, although some disputed the return of the mask rule. People not wearing a mask outdoors could face a fine of €135 as per local authorities. In Rome, Italians and tourists were queuing to take a last swab before meeting family and friends on New Year's Eve. COVID-19 cast a bleak shadow over New Year celebrations again, and infections in Italy hit record highs in the country with over 1,26,000 new cases, while the number of deaths rose to 156 from 148. With the all-conquering Omicron variant spreading like wildfire, the request for COVID tests has seen so high In the last 2 weeks, the swabs are becoming scarce in Italy, and many people have been queuing up from the early hours of the morning in front of the Antica Farmacia San Lorenzo in Lucena to make sure they are COVID negative. The World Health Organization chief says he is optimistic that the coronavirus pandemic will be defeated in 2022, provided countries work together to contain its spread. Dr. Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus warned against narrow nationalism and vaccine hoarding in his New Year statement. His comments come 2 years since the WHO was first notified of cases of an unknown pneumonia strain in China. Global COVID cases now stand at 287 million, while nearly 5.5 million people have lost their lives to the virus. Despite this, Dr. Tedros sounded a positive note in his speech, noting that there are now many more tools to treat COVID-19. Taiwan's president has urged China to curb its military adventurism, with tensions between the two sides at the highest level in years. Beijing has ramped up military and diplomatic pressure on Taiwan since Tsai Ing-wen came to power in 2016, as she rejects the stance that the island is Chinese territory. Chinese warplanes have made a historically high number of incursions into Taiwan's air defense zone in recent months. Tsai, in a New Year speech, added that the use of military means is absolutely not an option for resolving the differences between the two sides. The United States and Russian leaders exchanged warnings over Ukraine in a 50-minute call on Thursday to address Russian military actions. President Joe Biden on Friday said that he told his Russian counterpart Vladimir Putin that a move on Ukraine will draw sanctions and an increased U.S. presence in Europe, where tensions are high after Russia's military buildup at the border. Biden further said he sensed that Putin agreed on 3 major conferences next month with senior staff to help find a solution, and said he expected progress from those negotiations. He reiterated that substantive progress in these dialogues can occur only in an environment of de-escalation.
Clear to the President that if he makes any more moves and goes into Ukraine, we will have severe sanctions. We will increase our presence in Europe with our NATO allies, and it will have to be a heavy price to pay for it. What I got the sense of is that he's agreed that we would have 3 major conferences in Europe beginning in the middle of the month with our senior staffs that relate to the OSCE, the Russia-NATO Council, as well as continuation of discussions on our strategic doctrine. And so he did not disagree with any of that. And he laid out some of his concerns about NATO and the United States and Europe, and we laid out ours, and we said we began to negotiate some of those issues. But I made it clear that they only could work if in fact he de-escalated, not escalated the situation. I'm not going to negotiate here in public, but we made it clear that he cannot, emphasize cannot, move on Ukraine.
During their conversation, Russia's Vladimir Putin warned his U.S. counterpart Joe Biden that imposing new sanctions over Ukraine could lead to a complete breakdown in relations. Russian president said such sanctions could be a colossal mistake. According to the White House official, Biden will speak with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky on Sunday to reaffirm support for Ukraine, discuss Russia's military buildup, and review preparations for diplomatic efforts to calm the situation in the region. The Biden-Putin exchange has set the stage for lower-level engagement between the countries. That includes the U.S.-Russia security meeting on the 9th and 10th of January, followed by a Russia-NATO session on the 12th of January, and a broader conference including Moscow, Washington, and other European countries on the 13th of January. Hundreds of homes have been destroyed and tens of thousands of people were evacuated in Colorado, United States, after wildfires driven by high winds engulfed 2 towns near the state capital, Denver. The wildfire injured at least a half dozen people and prompted the evacuation of tens of thousands of residents in and around two towns east of the Rockies near Denver. Evacuation orders were first issued for all residents in the town of Superior, Colorado, with a population of about 13,000, and a short time later for the adjacent municipality of Louisville, home to more than 18,000 residents. Governor Jared Polis declared a state of emergency as the National Weather Service warned of a life-threatening situation in affected areas in the U.S. An entire subdivision of 370 homes went up in flames west of Superior, and 210 dwellings were lost in the Old Town area of Superior, along with additional residences in the area. Property losses also included a shopping center and hotel in Superior. In cricket news, Rohit Sharma has failed to recover from the hamstring injury that kept him out of the Test series in South Africa. In his absence, KL Rahul will lead India in the three-match ODI series in South Africa. Jasprit Bumrah has been named the vice-captain of the squad. This was supposed to be India's first ODI assignment since Rohit was named full-time captain for the format, but Rohit's recurring hamstring injury has emerged as a bit of a concern. India's 18-man squad welcomed back R. Ashwin, who last played an ODI in 2017 but made his comeback into the T20 side earlier in 2021. Venkatesh Iyer received a maiden ODI call-up. And with that, we come to the close of this edition of News Connect. Stay tuned to DD India and be cautious and vigilant. Wear your masks and get vaccinated if you haven't got your jab as yet. Thanks for watching.